Gonna be a long, long time. I think I hear my phone. Okay. You. Hmm. I'll let you be the first.
All right.
Those are meeting minutes from last.
Yeah. So these are the two files that you probably want to look at.
Okay. Yeah.
Out of the history. The blue one is the federal application,
Okay.
which was the one that was completed back in about 2001 or 2004.
Uh-huh.
And that was the one that gave us the funny spelling of our name that exists to this day. I've never bothered to change it. Right. So that's all the federal. We got approved for that. And there's our EIN number in there and stuff.
Cool.
This is what Chase put together about the state thing. And you can see the note here is they decided not to pursue it.
Is already recognized federal.
Right, but you have to keep in mind, it depends what you want it for. If you want it so that you don't have to charge state sales tax, then it's gonna be a sticky wicket.
Yeah,
Because even if you're state tax exempt,
still gotta
you
get.
still gotta get sales tax there.
I-
And I don't know how we're gonna handle that with selling coffee, if we just take it out of our proceeds. If we don't do it, somebody's gonna nail us with a fine.
Oh yeah, totally. No, we definitely need to get sales tax.
But we could just say $12 and including tax, and we'll just take the tax out of our proceeds or something.
Yeah,
That would be the easiest way to do it.
yeah, I think that'll be the way. I don't know what I was really thinking about it. I think actually I had brought this up, I think, because Sherry Hines, the ACC lawyer, was like, "Oh, I don't see you guys on the state registry." But I don't know if there was like a requirement for us to have a state.
It's never come up before, well, at least not as long as I've been around.
Okay, well, this will help me. Is it okay if I keep
Yeah,
these for
you
now?
just don't lose them because it's the
No.
only copies we have.
I'm gonna go ahead and just go put them in my office right now.
That's fine. It was locked, I think. Somebody let me in. I came in because somebody opened it up and I just walked in. Heather, I'm fine.
Wow.
He was here last time.
Well, he told me he might not be making it.
Oh, got it.
He's got a bunch of stuff he's taking care of, so I need to get a little. Got a shirt from Tree Diapers. We bought a bunch of them here, so I guess they
That's a freebie.
send them some swag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're made out of old diapers.
Really?
Like recycled
Wait,
diapers that
you
have been
mean
cleaned.
Cotton diapers.
No, I think like the gelatinous. Yeah, I think they just clean it. Well, not the shirt, but like the diapers themselves.
The actual.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, it's smelling all right, but yeah, they apparently they use old cleaned diapers to make
Are
the
they
I'm
those-
glad that they're reusing them, I guess.
Are they those
Yeah.
donut things?
Yeah. So you know what? I don't know if I like them yet.
I'm not sure do they get like,
They soak up water
yeah,
and then
we had 'em.
slowly release them.
And I just wonder if they got
wonder.
full of silt and stuff and didn't release.
I
or if
wonder
they
how
were-
well they release. Yeah. And really what I could do is just take one, fill it up, put it out on some concrete and see what happens.
Yeah.
But the only one that I've put them around, the only tree that I put them around has died twice.
Great.
We've replanted it and then it died again. And then I was like, it might be the soil, it might be the spot that it's put in. So I don't know yet, but I want to do a little bit of testing beforehand.
Yes, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Because we used them and and they died, and they never looked
they?
like they were dogwoods, and they were in our woods,
Uh-huh.
and they always looked like they were struggling.
Yeah, yeah, I think I do need to do a little
Yes.
testing on them, see how it works.
Left my notebook.
Wait,
Get it,
get it.
get it.
Have ye little faith, not thinking.
If you want to do something about the state tax thing, just let me know and we can
Okay.
work on it together.
Yeah.
I don't know, unless they really want us to do it, I don't know if there's any advantage to us doing it. And then the question is, then do we put it in the same misspelled name or do we? Because it would match the federal one.
Oh, that'd be terrible. No.
So
Maybe
in
we
that
could
case, then
do-
we would probably need to
What we could do
correct
probably
the,
is we could do the real, like the bad name, and then we could do a
doing
DBS.
business as, yeah,
And that might actually work.
it might. I don't think we'll get the ability to not charge sales tax, whatever we do, because the state loves their money.
Yeah, they want it.
So, if there's a reason that they need to deal with somebody who's got a state tax exempt status, then that's one thing, but we do have a
Okay.
federal one, and we've had it for a long time, and I'm very faithful about renewing it every year
Yeah.
in January, so. I think I sent you information on how to
Sweet
do it, just in
man.
case I'm not here.
Yep, another successful wisteria kill, so.
You know what?
Great success.
Mysterious syrup.
Just let me know.
Oh,
Eat all the blossoms.
all the flowers, cool.
Growing on my street.
Did it taste very like grapey?
I have a big bottle of it and it's very flowery.
Yeah.
I hear that you can do that with kudzu flowers
Yeah,
too.
it's a lot of flowers, lilacs, violets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a wisteria lemonade for a bridal shower. I'm helping.
Part of the recipe
Cool.
is though you kill the vine after you pull
Yeah,
the
we did
flowers.
that.
Okay.
We did that. Yeah, like we had some creeping over our backyard we hadn't been paying attention to for a couple of years. And I was like, we need this.
Glad that's on the recipe.
You should be.
What? I mean, I'm sure it'll come back, you know. Always said.
Supervisors.
Not that one. Camera front? No?
Yeah.
Camera rear? Hi, all right.
Where's the orb today?
Oh. Glad you mentioned.
Happy the sun came out.
I know, finally.
It's a shock.
I had to cover my eyes.
Supervisors slash directors have been trained
A
in.
little bit of the vampire showing up.
Yes.
The orb is incoming.
It's so nice to have a agenda different.
My winter pajamas.
I've been wearing my flannels for the last couple days.
I listened to
Not
a
only-
podcast this weekend talking about the year with no summer.
We didn't have it.
It was 1816. Mount Tambora erupted and there was like snow on the ground in Virginia on the 4th of July and like things froze to
That was a
death
huge
in the
eruption.
summer. Oh yeah, yeah. It was like it's actually the largest volcanic
I know.
eruption in modern
Where is this
history.
volcano?
Indonesia.
Philippines, yeah, Indonesia.
That
yeah.
far away. Wow.
Yeah.
The tropical ones have the most effect because they cover the most of the globe where the sun is the highest. So
that makes sense.
Pinatubo was the last big one we had in 92, 93. That was in the Philippines.
Huh.
But Tambora and Krakatoa were both in the Indonesian archipelago. And
Tambora was underwater, is that right?
I don't think so. No, that
I'm not
was
sure.
that was the one
That's-
Pinatubo.
no, the one underwater was just a couple years ago.
Yeah. yeah.
And that one's because it was underwater, didn't have nearly as much impact. What it did was put a lot of water vapor into the atmosphere, which had a different effect.
And apparently,
They didn't tell me that, man. I brought my home brew. But,
Why did you?
well, we have.
I'm giving a talk on tomorrow, and I'm talking about the volcanic effects on climate.
oh, cool. Very cool.
Well, it's one of the big controllers of global climate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not nearly as big as global warming is now in the greenhouse effect, but it's definitely one of the biggest because it controls the amount of energy that hits the surface.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, we could see ones that are large enough to rival like our carbon expenditure. You know,
Be tough.
it'd be tough. It'd be really tough.
But I mean, look at all the volcanic eruptions that occur in a typical year. They're nothing compared to the human volcano.
So one of my friends from college tried to give me that line.
Oh,
Look at this volcano, it's doing more carbon than all of
No.
them. And I was like, no, actually not at
Not
all.
even close. Not even
Oh.
close. That's people making up data that
Yeah.
supports their own.
And when I put the data out, he was like, you know,
Right.
just obfuscate.
It's like, no, people are always trying to say it's the solar output that's affecting the climate, but you can do that pretty easily.
Yeah.
Just-
One day I'll have nice pretty hair.
Part of the plantation.
Boxes. My grandson is that.
When we were talking about that today.
Huh?
We
So-
kind of started to get that this way.
Need one more for a quorum, but we can always get to going.
So they had a yard, they do it annually themselves.
There's nothing in the minutes about having approved the treasurer's report.
I
And
mean.
We should do that then.
I mean, not that there's anything surprising in it, but usually we vote on it.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea for us to do.
It doesn't matter.
We didn't have this.
that's it, right there.
But if there's the.
We're gonna wait till record until
Before.
we actually want to. Well, I wonder if who else might be showing.
Sometimes,
We'll get a few more minutes. Jesse will sometimes show up here a little.
yeah, or not.
I don't think Sean's coming. Oh, hey, how are you?
Real deal. Sleep better.
Incredible.
Well,
Anyway, I have to read it. However you want to do it.
Change. Right, yes. Perfect.
Funny, that I was like,
This would be,
meeting us to do this in a month.
I don't know if we have to vote on it or just take it as point of information on the treasurer's report.
Yeah.
It should be mentioned that we did it, we talked about it.
Talked about it, okay.
I don't want anybody to think I'm stripping that down.
What was that,
There's like 4 Bibles. Someone picked one of these. They're Americans and the people that. With the exception of, I mean, those were very, and we have the allies in there. Wow. Probably. I mean, those two would be West Flores. I sent that to you. Trust in the West Flores, but like advisory. That's not, we do a lot of.
Oh, you
I'm a liaison with the short-term. Actually, I said, we should get some nice more than you.
Every change.
I was sharp.
I've been paid attention. Yes, yeah. Someday I'm older.
Well, I think the idea is to get.
All right, y'all, we should probably call to order here.
We're all thinking
Well, you know,
that.
we're having fun. You get close to your tree feeder, you know, you gotta talk. So, I'm just gonna let it continue here for a second,
Yeah.
and then I'll get Forrest. Yeah, I'll give it a few more minutes.
Well, if we don't have a quorum, we can't vote on anything.
Yeah. Let's see.
No, we. My work. Those trees. There's
There we go. Not only called us to order, I think.
what that noise was.
It's official. Not only called us to order with the clap.
Need to get him on the map.
I think Lauren, you sent out the agenda. I think beforehand, if we could talk about treasurer's report and minutes from last time. Minutes should be getting passed around if you didn't get the digital copy that I sent. Pam, you want to tell us about the treasurer's report?
Sure. The treasurer's report is that we gained 8 more cents in interest from last month on the money market.
8 cents.
8 cents.
Okay, got it. Does anyone want to motion for?
Do we vote on it
minutes?
without a quorum?
We can now, actually. So does anyone want to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report? So, Lauren motions for treasurer's report. Any seconds? There we go. All right. We got to follow the rules here. Only seconds. All right. Let's vote. All yays, raise your hand. 2. Phil, did you have your hand up? Yay. Gary, were there any nays? How about that? To the treasurer's
No.
report. No nays.
Unanimous, or at least
Unanimous.
unopposed.
Excellent. All right, motion passes. Let's see here. Lauren, can you make a motion for the minutes?
Yes. I motion to approve the minutes.
Any seconds?
Second.
Thank you, Phil. Any nays? Gary already did his nays and then we fixed it, right?
Yes, it was
Very good.
affirmative on the fix.
Unanimous. Passes. Okay, so minutes are approved. All right, Lauren, take us through our discussions today. What do we got?
I think we left it last time that we wanted to maybe explore developing a letter with regards to the college redevelopment. I think Natalie did a lot of homework on her.
I wouldn't say a lot. It was raining significantly today. I was stuck inside. And I looked at the plan that's posted on the ACC County website to see kind of what the plan was.
What is it posted as? Is it posted as draft idea? Does it say?
Something weird, like, no, it's not proposal, it's it's concept. It's
Concept.
Yeah. So this is, and I'm not sure if there's something more updated since this.
I don't think so. I asked around the office today and I think this is it for now.
And so I didn't want to get too busy with the color copier at UGA. But, so I didn't make copies for all of us. However, we can share these, and one, it says, this is the existing. Post on that. what we have now. Well, so much for my star. And this is what it's going to be. And so the question was, could we save some trees that are currently there? And so I went down and I looked at the trees, and it's mostly the crepe myrtles on either side. And I thought to myself, that's not worth it. That's just my personal opinion. Because when you look at this plan and you look at the kind of visualizations, it seems to me that they are hoping to have a canopy that's gonna fill in over the street. And that ain't ever gonna happen with the crepe myrtles that are there. And so then I was kind of hunting around, and I asked myself, what, is there anything, like, what are the streets? The ones that were recently planted? And there's a couple of ginkgos near Heary's and on the other side of the street, but I don't even know. You guys can look at this and decide for yourself, but the disrupting a project for this kind of tree doesn't really seem worth pursuing to me. Is that a bad attitude?
I don't think so. I mean, at least from my opinion, I think, a future better canopy, I think, has its place for us to speak up for that as well.
Yeah.
There's some Zelkovas still there from the original planting as well.
Yeah.
I mean, could we suggest some trees that might be appropriate for that site?
That's what I was wondering, was that if we should use our energy to, and you guys should look at these just because you can imagine our future, what it might look like. It's sort of,
I mean, I don't think we should say the crepe myrtles necessarily, but I think if we tell them,
Yeah.
here's some better choices, maybe they'd listen.
I don't know if there's a plant list associated with the plan. I couldn't find one. So just saying, I mean, our accumulative wealth of knowledge here on what tree species we think would most likely survive and accomplish this mission of a canopy, beautiful college plaza.
And then when Mateo was having those talks with them about is, suggesting species, but also suggesting growing conditions. Or maintenance and growing conditions in the form of water and.
So, like this, I printed this one even more out, and then I was like, well, I'm really wasting paper and ink here, but, it does look like so much brick. I mean, it's so oven, like hot oven.
That was my criticism of the plan.
Like, and I'm just wondering, like, I know we're a tree council, but like, I mean, can we make these bigger? I don't know. This goes beyond our jurisdiction, but anyways.
Not to mention the continuity in the brick from here to here. Even if they put bollards here, it looks like it's an open plaza
I know.
right
So-
into traffic.
So that break in front of the arch is conceptual, like they're not touching that. That's GDOT territory. They just drew that in because they like brick. But they really, really like their brick. And my criticism of the plan was that there was too much brick. I feel like brick just needs more heat than even concrete pavers, the darker brick. I'd like to see some areas that had, how you can kind of break up a space.
Yeah, and
Areas that
some of
have a
the
different stone.
examples they gave, they're all kind of great, but the good news is that it is definitely an improvement over the 1920s and 30s. Where there's no trees, so.
Well, there are technical standards that we apply downtown, even though, firms, pick on them for a little bit, especially local ones, will be, quick to say that a tree management plan isn't required for downtown because we don't have canopy requirements. The only tree requirement we have is a parking space requirement. We don't have street tree requirements downtown. We don't have overall canopy. However, as I've talked to SVG and WMA and others, nothing in our code that I can find says we don't require tree management plans. And so my interpretation of that is that if a tree does go in, then we can apply technical standards to that tree. And Mateo and I have done this, and, through this have been able to say, well, structural soil or something along those lines. What I'm getting at or driving at is, there is one technical standard that says a tree cannot be planted that doesn't have 3 feet of soil in any direction. So, I'm 6 feet tall, and so to my middle finger is 6 feet. Something like that may not be, Mateo, jump in, may not be worthwhile to cite as we talk about how these trees are gonna be put in. What are your thoughts, Mateo, as the person who will care for these trees? What do you think, like citing a technical standard like that would
The picture is
do
clouds here, doesn't look like
or not
6
do?
feet.
I don't know if it would do much because the soil's under the ground, and I think they do have a 10-foot wide
Planting strip.
planting strip. So in theory, it does, I think it qualifies as
That's
that.
not what the picture looks like.
It doesn't.
The picture looks about 3 feet.
Yeah.
square.
Well, the picture's just conceptual.
I know. They don't know what they're talking about.
Definitely worth presenting them a letter of what the people would like to see as they proceed.
So, I mean-
Engineering drawings.
We're a tree council, we can
Yeah.
recommend stuff about trees, right? So,
And sent a representative to the voting meeting where the mayor and commission voted on this concept. And, they had concerns about stormwater runoff, and apparently they had talked to SBG, and they were in discussion and agreement to take their advice. So, there's no reason to cancel.
You mean talk to SPG?
Yeah, the folks were talking to SBG, as the technical drawings move forward. Voicing some of their stormwater concerns, and I suspect their concerns had everything to do with what appears to be very little dirt for stormwater
very little.
gatherers, and which, I don't know, maybe it's hard to tell from the drawings, but I mean, that was kind of my concern too. I just feel like it's nothing but pavement.
But they have to have a certain width of pavement for access for emergency vehicles, right? So that's why they can't
But-
have more trees within the.
I mean, yeah, they were, that had more to do with festoon lighting. There does have to be a width, and I think it's only feet or something. It's not a lot to get it.
The fire was okay with,
The height, they're fine with the height.
Yeah.
It was the width that they were going back and forth. It's 20-foot width through the middle that they have to have access through.
20.
It is 20 feet. The main thing with these trees on the sides is they're wanting a flat surface all the way across for accessibility for their festival area, seating area, and moving forward in that manner. The opening, I'm very concerned on those trees. Tree wells that they have, you've got this much opening around the trees. It's not gonna collect much stormwater at all. I'm very nervous. I will be retired by the time those trees get big enough. I'm very nervous. I'm
Maybe we don't-
Extremely nervous. They are solely relying upon irrigation.
Maybe we don't make a ruckus about trees, but more about the health.
The
of
care, the
trees.
health
Yeah.
of them. The only answer I was given is they were looking at nut all oaks, and I'm just shaking my head. No. I have asked that they continue with the Evelyn oaks that are anchor corners on Clayton to carry out the continuity. I've asked for that. I don't know, see it.
I feel like it's a good idea to have a couple of different species, just in case a flight runs through and then knock out the whole square.
It's a tough one to sell to a designer. They like that continuity. And granted, I would say,
All about biodiversity.
yeah, well, I would maybe say, well, maybe we shouldn't have all 10 of those oaks be the same exact clone. Maybe they should be different individuals. But there's a lot of arguments about that in the arboriculture world, as to whether or not we should go with a known single individual or not, because then you get them all blooming at the same time or leafing out at the same time, as opposed to like Southeast Clarke Park, where you notice like lots of the oaks will bloom at totally different times, or not bloom, but leaf out at entirely different times, even though they're same species. But I think that is a thing that designers are always really thinking about. You know, they want it to be very uniform. So I think that's where SPG is on that one.
Like designing a bulldog with a really short nose, right? They all look alike.
The other thing is that it looks like there are a lot more trees existing, at least according to this plan, and they're only proposing 5 trees on each
So
side.
I was trying to figure that what they're including are in this drawing loosely are these small ginkgos. In that bump, because right now it's the crepe myrtles, I believe, they're 5 and 5. And then at the end of the block, closer to Clayton, or not, is that Clayton? There's the newly planted oaks.
Yeah.
And ginkgos.
There are 4
Because
ginkgos and 3 Evelyn oaks coming out.
I think also, even if we were to get fewer number of trees, because we're dealing with crepe myrtles for a lot of those, I think crepe myrtle is a small, right?
Yeah.
Wait, small. So it is
It's a very small.
very small. Yeah. So it's like 400 square feet, I think, or 150 square feet of canopy coverage that we give them credit for. Whereas if they're planting an oak, they're getting 1,600 square feet of canopy credit.
Let's see.
So in theory, at a mature age, these oaks, fewer of them will give us more canopy than what we have currently. So that's a plus, if they get to full size, right? Yeah, and I think water is a big thing with it. You know, if stormwater isn't something that's being actively diverted into the trees, you know, we're just really relying on stem interflow. You know, rain that's coming down from the stem, and then irrigation. Well, then
Can't they do some bioswales or integrate some other technology into that?
Well,
Trees?
the current plans show vaulted soil cells, like silva cells, which is very nice, very expensive. But then they don't want to put stormwater in them.
Oh,
So in an ideal world, and if we were to write a letter giving our thoughts on the matter, we would suggest, you know, that.
Evelyn.
Evelyn, yep. It's a willow oak.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. We would, you know, ask for a larger canopy tree. Ideally.
Well, I think they already want to give us a large canopy tree.
Or we just want to say.
More soil,
More soil.
soil volume,
Surface.
soil surface.
Water.
Absorb the.
And then the ability for stormwater to work and get to those.
Yeah.
But that was, who, was it the downtown that was concerned with the stormwater and?
It was, UON had, Bruno Jury from UON, made a comment at the meeting.
Okay.
Saying that UON was.
And that's what
concerned
their
about
biggest
stormwater.
concern is.
So I kind of wonder if that it has to do with the, you know, soil surface and absorption.
Yeah, ADDA is worried about stormwater because they've had some floods in the past in College Park. Granted, most of those I think were sanitary sewer or runoff that was being diverted and into like the old coal chutes that were there. But I heard that it was a hard no, that they do not want to put stormwater into the soil under the trees because they're worried about litigation. So, I mean, honestly, I think even if you don't allow stormwater in there, you're probably still going to get sued.
Somewhere it's supposed to go?
It's gotta go somewhere.
About nature.
Well, no, the businesses would say like, oh, you've changed something and now it's like flooding my basement. You have to fix it now. I think that's what they're worried about. So.
Will this plan be like here's some more question for you, would this plan be more like they're redoing Bishop Park? And then it comes through plan review, maybe it will come through plan review, won't it? Like county stuff comes through plan review for a TMP review, does this not come through that?
I don't think we're gonna get a TMP for it.
I mean, we get them on all of their county public stuff, like literally.
I mean, maybe because this is ABDA and it's a development authority.
You think it's different because of that?
There are different rules governing stuff that development authorities.
It's a good question.
Oversee. That is a big question. Like, are
It's a
there?
very good question.
Public review.
Well, usually there's at least a courtesy review for input, isn't that?
We've, all the departments of ACC have had time to comment.
Oh, okay.
So you're past that already.
I mean, I'm
We've
sure
commented.
there'll be much more TPW review. moving
Absolutely,
forward,
yeah,
And
definitely.
central services,
Absolutely. So sometimes, they can, sometimes it's not even a tree management plan review, they'll send a landscape review, if they don't call it a tree management plan, but I mean, the pool, when I guess they're still redoing it. It's a Bishop Park.
yeah.
That it was when Mateo and I first came in, and so I don't know what the discussions were before that, but I remember we kicked that one back to them one or two times because they did have a TNP with it, so they were required to shift and make corrections. As long as the plan's not binding, a typical plan, if it's not binding from y'all, and then.
It's very, it was conceptual, like
Yeah.
we voted on this,
Mhm.
which is very conceptual.
So that, I can ask in the planning department what that looks like with the AC and see if. it's-
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it might be worth, just touching base with UO to understand what their concerns are.
Where is you when you're talking to you, and I'm not familiar.
Upper Oconee Watershed Network.
Yeah, I think they made comment on it recently, and I know Todd from Stormwater told me that they were gonna make comment to ADDA about it.
I mean, the guys at SPG nodded that they were in communication with UO. And Bruno Geary from UO commented at meetings. So apparently this conversation, and Bruno had texted me a few days earlier. And I was like, okay, let me know if you want to chat, and he never reached back out. So I presume he was having direct conversations with them about it.
It's UOWN. Yeah.
So they're an extra layer when it comes to downtown.
I mean, UO's a water advocacy group,
Mhm.
and so they often comment about stormwater issues. So I mean, there's no requirement, they're, nonprofits, or anything, but they work closely, but.
No, they'll make comment. I don't know if they'll get listened to.
Maybe that's what we can do is reach out to UO and find out what their concerns are, and they might be like kind of married to the concerns we have about the trees and the surface, the dirt and stormwater, watering the trees.
Yeah, I wonder about the plan review process. I mean, this will, again, I think it goes through some kind of plan review. And I can imagine it doesn't, but if it does.
It doesn't, that's what that face says.
If it does, and I found out about that.
To Bruno and he was like, hey, what, you want to talk more about this College Avenue stormwater thing? Find out exactly what they're.
Well, isn't there another parklet going downtown that's currently under
Next to Costa
construction?
Building?
Yeah, so did that go under?
That came from TNP.
Well, then I would assume that this would be no different.
Yeah, that's an ADDA project, so it should have the same process.
Yeah, it came in,
Um,
So ultimately, as this group's activity related to this is to maybe contact the Oconee watershed folks and make sure we're not like doing the same, asking for the same thing, or see what they want? Like, should I ask them what they're up to?
Yeah, did you?
Ask them what their recommendations for water
Yeah.
conservation is for
And
that.
then go and take that, and see how it aligns with what our concerns are. I mean, I feel like, I just wanna see this College Avenue thing be something that is sustainable, and like, we're not sitting here in 10 years talking about how they're gonna cut down all the damn trees again, you know, to do something different. So like, doing it right the first time.
Yeah, and I think
Yes.
an important point to note maybe that we see or that we think about when we're doing the plan review processes, especially with this one, of phrasing it in, like, you can't buy back time with tree canopy. And so this canopy is supposed to be 1,600 square feet or more, but that's the minimum. And so we're never gonna reach 1,600 feet if we keep replanting,
Yeah.
you know, new
Okay.
trees. That takes time and it takes water. Lots of water.
Water is needed for big
Water,
trees.
it's carbon and water, but.
And if we're only using stem interflow and irrigation, well, I remember going to UGA when we had a big drought. Our governor was telling us to pray for water. You know, I definitely don't want to have to water 10 big trees downtown in a drought with
I like the way you're talking about what are the values that have been expressed in this body. I think to sort of give them a little bit of, this is where we are, like your term about aligning. Because this body needs to weigh in.
Yeah, okay, so I will find these people.
I was like, do you have the name of who spoke at the?
Bruno G-Reed,
That's-
yeah, do you know Bruno? I can give you his contact info.
I definitely think aligning with another
Yeah.
organization and echoing their comments, you know, from our perspective is going to have a bigger impact than if we just say, you know, there's not enough trees, or we don't like these trees, but if we have a specific message that aligns with theirs, I think they'll have more impact.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like us to say something about using trees as stormwater management tools, as green infrastructure would be really nice. You know, and especially in a spot where stormwater management is needed. So. Not only if you want to shoot things back and forth with me, working on this letter, I'm happy to
Yeah.
assist.
Like, I mean, my initial hope was I was gonna go down there today and be like, oh, we could save this or that, but I was. It's like, we're not gonna get this vision of shade with this, trying to keep what we have.
I think I agree.
And our tree code is ultimately, for better or for worse, it is a forward-looking future tree code.
Yeah, I have that here somewhere.
Yeah, that's something that you can hammer on endlessly. We want these trees to survive because we are future-looking tree code.
Well, they're in, raised beds currently, right?
Correct, yes.
I mean, and they want to flatten out the entire area, which is going to change the grade, which those trees aren't gonna survive anyway. Like, they're not going to withstand that kind of treatment, so.
And the grading issue, I think for that is huge, because if they didn't do that, it's always gonna feel like a weird street, you know? It's what it like, yeah, it needs that, so. But then it would be nice to be like, it's done. We're not gonna mess with this anymore. Stop picking at it.
It'd be nice to have successful, large, mature trees downtown there. We're getting there close with some of the oaks downtown. But it'd be nice to be like Greenville or Charlotte. They got really big willow oaks, so. So I think we've kind of covered that letter, at least kind of discussing what all we need to be putting in. So I mean, so I think like the size of the tree, I don't think we really need to discuss, right? We would all like large canopy trees. The species selection, I think is still up for grabs, but I would assume SPG is going to go with a willow oak of some sort. It sounded like they were interested in that. It'll be interesting to see what they come back with the next time.
Recommendations for a little bit of biodiversity in there. To do oaks of Georgia.
I originally wanted to do Georgia oaks, but they're really slow growing, so.
Well, I was thinking like different species. Not
Like
just,
a-
not the Georgia oak, like.
Yeah.
Like a white oak and then a willow and I mean, I don't know. I think what's so charming about Clayton Street now is that we do have so many different species. I remember the first year I took pictures of myself with the fall with the different colors in the background of each tree. And it's really cool to walk down and like notice different species with different colors and different shapes.
Yeah, I agree. I really do. And I like diverse plantings. Unfortunately, I think I butt heads with a lot of designers because they really do like, the alleys, this kind of landscape architecture, straight line, uniform.
The practical reason behind that, because if you do get a drought that certain species are susceptible to, or it's not a fungal disease or a bug that likes, I mean, that's.
Street trees are
Why-
notoriously hard to pick from though. There's like a very short list of trees
That do well.
that do well, that don't cause problems, that don't have messy fruit, that don't, there's like a whole list of things that they have to adhere to.
A handful of different species for Clayton Street.
Yeah.
Um,
These two different species for this.
That might be a good thing to put in a letter, just requesting a little bit more diversity. Whether even, maybe if it's just like leaving in the line of 5, but then on the end caps doing something different, or just other things.
I feel like if I was the designer in this scenario, I would argue for the same species just because there's so much chaos in the different buildings. Like you need something that's like simple.
I mean,
You know what's simple is all of that brick.
That's true. They are getting it from that. So maybe you're right. We should just have lots of different things. If you like had, I think that in every other species, so you'd have 4 of one kind and 6 of another. Still symmetrical.
I will say the brick, some people in Public Works really did argue pretty vehemently that they would like to see something other than red, but I think it has been decided that it will be red. All the other stuff is red downtown, so I think they're like, well, the one thing that I've seen a few people like stand like up on their their hill to die on, it's like, this has to be the same as everything else downtown. Like we cannot make it different from everything. So I think we'll probably end up with the red brick, but that would be my bet.
They're concrete red bricks. Like a concrete color. Yeah, they could. But it's a concrete, because I was concerned, because where we do have brick downtown, those bricks chip easily when you drop a keg on them. And they butt up, or there was some that just disappeared, right? Like right almost at the crosswalk here a couple weeks ago that I reported. I'm like, I'm imagining some co-ed catching her heel in that and falling flat on her face.
Oh, yeah.
I think someone did mention at our TPW meeting, like, no, like people steal bricks all the time. Like it's really difficult to get them back correctly once you take them up to repair something. So I think they're going to try to have them all level.
Special product, special bricks made of concrete, and they like have little wedges in them, and they lock together like Legos or something.
They recommended that there is the concrete base. Instead of a sand setting, it will be a concrete base that the brick are set onto. So maintain a level.
Permeability.
they're gonna
Because
design
even
it for
So all
the,
that stormwater's gonna go.
they're gonna design it for the fire trucks. That is gonna be the standard.
Well,
in-
because they're gonna be pulling that stage through here. There'll probably be food trucks coming through there. Like, they're definitely gonna want it to be
Yeah.
traffic ready.
When we
Yeah.
were doing the design for Jackson Street, I met with the fire department and they were adamant. I mean, the streets, their public works was really adamant about designing the street, engineering it for the fire truck, which is a huge weight.
Yeah, it's huge.
And so if you design it for that, it's gonna work for any other vehicle. And, it's gonna have to be all the way across to make it cost effective. So those bricks aren't going anywhere and they're not gonna chip.
I know, that's why they want to go with the
Yeah.
concrete base.
Yeah.
Even Clayton was supposed to have been that same way, but it did not get installed to the specifications, but they're supposed to be concrete up underneath. So any repairs, replacements that are happening on Clayton now are having the concrete subbase.
There are other ways you can get water down through it though, with like a drainage channel or something of that sort.
Yeah, I would presume there would have to be one in this lower area.
But those have to be designed, yeah.
Drops to be there.
Perhaps since this is just a concept, they just haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the engineering drawings yet. This is just a concept.
I have heard of the aversion of getting water down into those cells though. The aversion is there from ADDA.
I think Natalie's letter will probably just.
We'll switch them around,
Yeah.
turn them right around.
Turn a phrase.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's probably gonna seal the deal.
uniting with UO could be the way to go. Yeah, we'll see.
And I don't know if we'll get the long drain as we're hoping for, but if they could be more specific and letting us know the tree grate. I mean, the tree grate concept that they presented is great. I really like it. It's in pieces. It's easily used. Instead of an iron grate, it's sections. But I would like to know how big, how much water will it be allowed to capture?
Yeah, the grates are really cool, actually. They're really cool looking. Because I mean, Jeannie will tell you, like, it'll take a lot of guys to pick up one of those grates, get it out, and then you got to cut it with like an oxyacetylene torch or a sawzall, and then you got to get it back in. So any way that we could do that without having to take the whole grate out, then you are more likely to actually have it done at the right time and to be the right size. And so I think those gates.
For 1 second,
Yeah.
has anybody seen the new forest pave on some of the trees downtown?
Yeah.
That's my goal. I really like the forest pave a lot.
I actually did air spade a tree there by College Square. The Fred building. It's right in front of the Fred building, and we had them redo the curbing around it. But I air spaded all the soil out that I could get to, replaced it, put some compost and some more volume. And then we had the porous pave put over the top of it. So hopefully that tree does well. It was in decline. But it looks to be happier this year. So, but I would definitely recommend y'all go look at that, the porous pave stuff. I think it looks really good.
I don't know if I've shared this with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he brought a small sample.
Amazing.
There's two of them right in front of Cine.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
two at Sine down by the George Theater. We've done a few replacements there. And near, what's the name of that bar? Sister something?
Sister Louisa's.
Yeah, we've done two beds there.
Every diameter changes, does that adjust for it automatically?
As the tree, we just go with the sawzall and we're done.
Or you can just use a chisel, hammer and chisel will break it.
Mix it up with epoxy. Very nice.
Did you see it?
And water just pours right through that.
And they're soft to walk on.
They do feel pretty nice underfoot.
Playgrounds with another product, very similar, a different mix. Yeah, it's a different mix consistency. This is for drives and, they could. They most definitely could. But it's filtrates through, it's not gonna stop.
But it is plastic.
It's recycled. Yeah, it's recycled stuff, so.
Polymer plastic.
Now, I will say, Helen, I'm not gonna drink the water that goes through there. But I think I'll give my trees down there, so. I won't drink it.
But the bugs are gonna go.
Yeah.
Especially downtown, the water that goes through. So
Yeah. It's not always
But all
water.
of them.
Not always water.
liquids, they go through the
Liquids, there we go. But yeah, y'all definitely go take a look. There's been quite a few of those that have been getting done. And I think they look really good, so.
Do you put that, what do you put that on top of?
You know, it's, yeah, either gravel or the soil.
Soil?
Yeah,
You
but,
go right in the soil.
yeah, but gravel is probably the best thing for it.
Did you get that for like driveways?
You can use it on driveways, but if your wheels change direction a lot without you moving, then it wears it out really quickly.
Got it, okay.
So it can be used for sidewalks. There's some skate parks that use it. A lot of times it's people that are trying to get more pavement, but they can't have more impervious surface because of like planning requirements. Like I know one of the RV stations down here on Lexington Highway, they can't have any more impervious surface, but they still want more sidewalks through it. So they're looking at getting this stuff for it because it doesn't trigger stormwater.
Right.
So
I have to get my driveway redone, so I'm trying to figure out options.
eh,
Probably downhill because our
Gonna be
cars
more
change
expensive.
directions too much.
yeah. All right, where are we? I got lost. Downtown. Yes.
I think we're
Letter?
solid with this for now.
Okay. We will continue on in that direction. Then there was another one. What else did we have here, Lauren?
Oh, I just had the Jittery Joe's.
Jittery Joe's. Yeah. Who all came to Jittery Joe's? It was fun. It was a good time. Pam, you had to leave early.
I
though.
did. I only got to try 3 of them.
I will say, doing a coffee tasting at night is not the best option because I did manage to get a sleep that night, but I don't think I rested at all. So.
That's one of the reasons why I ended up not making it.
The 3 was okay because I didn't have any trouble sleeping, but.
So we went through a number of the different blends or roasts that they do. Charlie Mustard actually showed us roasting a batch and then gave us that batch to drink. I'm still drinking it. It's wonderful. But after we did all of these, you know, I think it was 6 of them, random flavors. He kind of told us about all of them after we had scored them. Once we got the results back, we did like a ranked choice. By far and away, the best one or the most popular one was Morning Ride. So that was kind of the original blend that they started doing the commemorative 10s. That's what the Jittery Joe's cycling team, the way that they financed themselves was that they sold these coffee tins all over the US in different bike shops. And it was
that flavor sold well.
yes, it's a very approachable flavor. It's really nice to the nose. It's not very exotic, we'll say. So it's like one of those coffees that you can drink every day.
So is there a chance we can get this to market by the holidays?
It's possible. The art, once it is done, to put it on cans, we're looking at 6 weeks.
The finding, the commissioning and the selection of the art are to be the biggest stopper.
Yeah. And actually, I went to Cali and Tito's a few nights ago, and randomly sitting next to me was Marissa Mustard, Charlie Mustard's daughter. You've probably seen her mailboxes around town. They're the ones with flowers on them. Very popular artist around town. And I asked her about it, and she said, I'll do it for free. Yeah, I'll do some art for you guys. Yeah. So I said, why? Well, actually, I asked her, I was like, you know, would you be interested in doing something like this? She was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Like, I would love to do that. I was like, okay, that's great. Well, what do you think you charge? She's like, oh, I'll do it for free. That's fine. So I said, cool. I won't ask you anymore then. So.
Did she say trees or something that?
He does a lot of
botanical
Yeah.
insects and.
I haven't seen a white oak by her as of yet, but I would imagine she can do it. She's got a lot of really cool stuff out there.
But you do a
So
tree that owns itself.
we'll see. It's very nuanced with the owning itself part, but
With the fence around it.
yeah, I think she'll be able to do it. And also she's done a number of those commemorative tins, so she knows the exact dimensions for it. She knows kind of
You
the
know how it looks.
nuances. Yeah. So I think it's like the best of both worlds that she's already excited about it and will do it for free. I think that will take a lot of the complication out of it.
I mean,
Um,
unless we want to be unique and original and not have the same artist as every other 10.
Well, it's not every 10, but she does have her own 10 with her like hibiscus flowers. Can't remember what kind of flowers they
Her
are. But
forte is mailboxes. She's
yeah.
really, really skilled at doing stuff that goes around.
In the round, yeah. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what she comes up with, but I am certainly not saying we shouldn't explore other avenues if we find other artists.
We could do next year's 10 with someone else.
Yeah, and actually, I at Callie and Tito's was John Ashley Reese. And I went and talked with him, just chatting with him, fellow tree guy. And talking with him about the tree that owns itself and the commemorative 10 idea. And he was like, oh, well, my wife's an artist.
She's a great.
And she is actually a fantastic artist. I looked at some of her stuff. Very realistic, like
She does portraiture and is like just.
It's fantastic. I don't know if it would be exactly the feel for that commemorative 10, but it could be. So there are other artists out there that are
Can
willing
we
to
ask
help.
them for, put them on a deadline to submit some ideas? I mean, because
I also.
Christmas is coming up fast.
I also
Yeah.
know David Hale, I could ask him to, that's what we thought of.
I was really wanting to try to get David Hill to do the moon tree art. If we do a commemorative 10 for the moon tree. Yeah, it would be perfect. It
Yeah,
would be
stuff's
like,
real distinctive.
yeah, a very fractally kind of,
That's it, that would be kind of the nice part. He has kind of a following and not just in Athens, so
Yeah.
having somebody who is, has a little bit of renown to their name might
yeah.
bring interest to it.
Well, and it wouldn't be bad to have the same look, even though it's different trees, have kind of the same style. So tree that owns itself and moon tree by David Hale would have a similar style. And so it's almost like a brand for the tree, commemorative tree cans.
Jesse, can you talk to David and see? Very cool.
So do you think it's realistic we could be selling these things at Christmas
If we
time?
could decide on the art.
Gary, you're gonna get some coffee, okay? No.
You didn't give a piece.
I-
Basics are.
I would like to say it's realistic, but I think it really is just based on artists. Sometimes it's a little bit tough to pin them down. I think that will be the long part of it, though, is just getting the artwork. I think it'll
But
be
we
pretty
need to do
quick.
it soon.
Yes. What?
Anyone in this group, an artist?
I am.
Well.
She's like, listen.
You're a high real artist. Do you have any interest in this?
I mean, my style isn't that graphic. I'm more of a figurative painter and that kind of thing. But I mean, I could come up with something. I certainly could. I'd be willing to. But if you could get somebody like David Hale, I think that would be great because he has a great name recognition.
Yeah, people would buy the can,
Just for the-
thinking it's a tree or
I
anything
like
like.
the idea of because if, I know that he wouldn't want to have all this time to do this, but if he did want to take it on and then it's kind of like we have the same look and it is very graphic and distinctive. I mean, yeah, I have one of his things at my house. So. Then,
So
you're right here. Notebook right there. It seems like maybe we could have it by the next meeting in a month.
Or at least have a yes in a month?
I think we should have our goal of just having a yes or, someone working on art by next month. Next month, I don't think we have a meeting though. Typically, we don't have one in July.
In order to
Or
like,
no, never mind, it's June. Next month, never mind.
I know that, what was her name? I'm sorry.
Marissa Mustard.
Said she would do it for free, but say, we wanted to get somebody like David Hale. Can we agree on like a budget just so that I know, like, if he comes back and says, oh yeah, I'd be happy to do that, and it'll cost, $2,000, I can be like, thanks, but no thanks. Or if he comes back and says, whatever, I have an idea of like what we would be willing to spend on something like this.
How much money do we have?
8 cents.
Well, I mean, we have the Tree for Tomorrow money, which is mostly for trees. And then that's also the tree baby money, which are sort of combined. The amount that we have in the regular account's about $400.
Okay. So,
yeah, we're
Either
not-
that or we all donate money to
Yeah, yeah.
fill that balance up.
theory, we will be getting this money back through the sale of the cans, right?
You could just tell him we have $400 and see what he says.
I agree.
Say
I
that,
agree.
spit on your head, and come on.
Coffee.
Start for the first can. Step up for the next.
Ask him what his
Yeah, I would just get feeling out for what he would be willing to
Yeah.
Okay.
do for.
He's either in or he's out. We're not twisting his arm like, hey, if he wants to go for it, hey, we're happy to have you. If not,
Right.
it's Athens. There are 4 billion artists in Athens.
Hopefully,
He gets the money.
you would consider
That's huge.
contributing. As a
Couple hundred.
himself as a contributor, just as people who purchase it would be a contributor.
Yeah.
To a nonprofit organization that
Yeah.
is looking to promote tree canopy and using it as a fundraiser.
Yeah, his art is his donation
Right.
for the.
Or at least,
And if he
Hopefully.
or my uncle is a painter. He's fabulous. He's from Athens, but I know him and he probably, and I hesitate to say his name, but he'd probably be like, how much? And so I don't know David, but if someone makes their living off art, their brand is important and their product is important, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So I would say exactly what you're saying. Would you like to be a part of this project? If not, we can move on. There are 4 million artists in Athens.
and this is a fundraiser, and so
Right.
we're defeating our purpose beyond the point of paying an excessive amount, because we'll just be trying to make back the money that we spent to.
Right, and we'll go to the trees.
Yeah.
And David's a real nature guy. He would love
Oh,
to
yeah.
contribute to trees.
Let's see where we are. Yeah, let's see what he says.
Uh,
And if you know by the end of this meeting, you can let us know.
Yeah, I'm texting you.
He's gonna be so excited about people saying, I'll give you 3 versions, you choose.
Right.
Like, awesome.
Because that much done.
We can have another taste test.
We should, in the morning. We'll do it at 7 a.m. Ah, visual taste test.
Yeah.
Yes.
An art show.
No caffeine.
Point, and we do need people like Gary, because he's trying to keep us to a timeline, and we will miss a big opportunity if we're unable
We are
to
historically not
capture
good
the
with
holidays.
deadlines.
Yeah, I think having it ready for the holidays is very important.
Yeah.
Because even if it isn't just a purchase for that holiday, it could be,
Mother's Day.
yeah, I mean, that's the start of the purchasing season. So,
Well, does Charlie do do they have the capacity to do the graphic template for printing? I mean, are we just asking for,
we get the art, we send it in, and they will,
Figure out. how to
they
fit
put
it.
it
they
together?
print
with
it
the
on.
text? Do they do the text and the verbiage?
We're gonna have to figure out, what do we want to put on there? What are we gonna talk about on the can?
How do we lay that out? they have a graphic capacity to do that, or do we,
Um,
is this part of what David?
Well, the artist is gonna have to, put all of that together as one cohesive piece. But I would imagine they will give us a certain pixel count, and
No, I'm just meaning like for text, like the fonts and,
we would
size.
probably have to come up with that.
So is that what we're asking David to do? Because that's a whole
I
nother.
don't think we want the picture.
Probably just the picture, and then we could come up with the other stuff beside it.
If I had the picture, I could totally lay out the can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they have a template.
Okay.
And they've done so many of these, that they do have a process that they can take
I mean,
what
there's-
you give them and run.
Yeah.
with it.
There's probably a certain, kind of layout that needs to be adhered to.
Yeah.
Text would have to go in certain
Cause you,
places.
but if you go look at a couple of the commemorative cans, you could probably figure it out.
Yeah, there wouldn't be much text, but
Somebody
do it.
has to actually do it. That's the only thing I'm asking about is who's gonna be responsible for that part of it?
I think we can totally get that part done ourselves if necessary, kind of the little
The text.
superfluous stuff on the sides, but the main art, I don't feel comfortable doing. But I will say I've seen Jesse's work doing like letterhead and like visual references for people for like Georgia Arborist Association, and it's pretty good. Yeah, I was really impressed with that one. So
What did you use to do all that? Do you use InDesign or?
I used to use InDesign.
Okay.
And I used to use Illustrator, but Canva is like
Oh,
the
yeah.
easiest in the world to use. And so all the skills using Illustrator, I'm like, why waste the time? It's so much.
Everybody, every time I ask, that's what people say. I still use InDesign.
I would try Canva, and it's cheap too. Like having Adobe, the Adobe suite is kind of expensive, but Canva is much cheaper and has everything you need in it. Yeah. And it's way easier to use.
Wait, yeah.
I'm used to the free version.
Yeah. If I'm doing like a big, like a workbook, like something that's like, yeah, you can have one of these, like a big, like multi-page book or something, I still use InDesign.
Right.
Still have the Creative Suite, but, since we mentioned this, can I just briefly mention,
Yeah.
make a PSA? So, it has come to the Georgia Arborist Association's attention that people's insurance companies homeowners insurance companies are requiring them to prune limbs over their house, like heavily prune or remove their trees, or they'll get potentially dropped by their insurance company. And so we're trying to find ways to fight back against this because it could potentially result in a loss of canopy of healthy trees. And so we've been working with the Georgia Forestry Commission to create resources, and we don't know if this will work yet, but we've written a letter that people can work with their arborist to deliver to their insurance, not their agent, but their underwriter. We have a municipality letter for municipalities that have stricter ordinances than ours to talk about how this requirement would violate ordinances, especially when removal is required. So this just has some resources. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and I brought some examples of the flyer.
I need one of those.
I have a question.
Gary, can you get me one of those? I'm trying to get.
Do we have any rules governing, like, when you replace a sewer or water line and you cut through a tree root? We had a tree come down on Boulevard a week or so ago. And 2 years ago, I remember walking by that property and seeing a big old trench cut, like maybe 8 or 10 feet from the tree, big white oak, about that big round. And, it was perfectly healthy, looked fine, right on the property line, and it came down just all at once on a dry, still day about a week and a half ago. Barely missed this lady's house.
Is this a street tree?
It's in a yard.
If it's a street tree, then Mateo would kind of have to say so, and there would be tunneling or whatever. But if it's on somebody's private property, it's strictly like a best management
Yeah.
practice.
So it's on the property line between this, one of the big old houses that has like 3 apartments in it, small brick cottage. fell like towards the brick cottage, but the trench was to serve the sewer line for the.
So it's an interesting situation when it's a co-owned tree. Then technically,
It wasn't co-op, but
if it's on the property line, and it's co-owned, then technically, one owner can't damage another owner's property. Like just because you own a house with your partner and you get angry doesn't mean you can burn the house down because it's your house, because it's also somebody else's house, So, there could be some recourse where the other homeowner would say like, oh, you damaged this tree that I'm a partial owner of. But otherwise, it's really just we have technical standards, and we would hope that people follow those to
so
keep
it's
their
on
trees alive.
pretty much.
What
to
is it?
avoid-
Are you talking about the sewer line, like a city sewer line? Or
No, I think it was the sewer line to the house. I remember like 2 years ago, walking by there and seeing like this big old trench going through the front yard towards the back of the house, big deep trench, and I was like, oh shit.
yeah, if it's
That
if-
tree.
Yeah, if it's on the private property, there's not much we
and
can
then
do.
If it's city sewer line, we had something happen. This is a quick aside. Shoot in that neighborhood behind Alps Cinema, whatever that is. It goes onto the river.
Riverview.
Riverview. If the person loves the tree, and they're like, oh my God, I love this tree. I raised my children in this tree. I got married under this tree, and my dog is buried near the tree. If it's in the sewer easement, which is 10 foot either side on the trunk line, it doesn't matter one single bit. That's a goner.
No,
If they need
this
to
is
repair the
totally
sewer.
private property.
Totally private.
Replacing.
I was just saying either way, if it's not in his, I don't know if purview is the right word for it, but if it's not in his domain, it's kind of like.
Thing is, there was plenty of like empty yard.
It's kind of both on the homeowner as well as the plumber, right? I mean, like the homeowner may not be an expert at trees, but you should realize that trenching through the root zone isn't going to be good. I will say this though, I did talk with Matt Adamson with Public Utilities, and I asked him about that very thing. Because there have been ACC trees where they put in new water lines and they trenched really, really close to a mature tree. And I asked him like, well, hey, like, how can we not have that happen anymore? Like, can we put a bend? Can we put like an elbow in the water line that's going in? And I thought that was a great idea, but apparently you cannot.
The flow doesn't work right.
The pressure will want it to always straighten out. So you end up with cracks and leaks in it if you do try to do elbows in a water line. So that's why they typically will never say like, oh, here's a tree, let's just, right angle it around. But you can go way ahead of it and, slightly turn, but a lot of times you may not have the length in order to do that, or maybe the money to do that.
Diagonally. I imagine that it made a right turn towards that. It's like a good, 15, 20 feet away from the house.
Plumber usually isn't even going to think about it. It's like, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to pay me for my job, and then this tree will die 2 years from
The
now.
longer pipe it costs more money.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Just nobody really thinks about it.
It didn't like completely flatten that house. It kind of like went towards the backyard and just kind of dinged the corner gutters. If it had landed on that house,
Wow. Yeah.
she's there, she's home.
Gosh.
It's terribly unfair.
That was been scary when it came down.
Yeah, took out his bed in the backyard and dinged her brand new gutters.
And has no interest in the health of the tree whatsoever.
All right. So Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, removing invasive plants from their inventory. We had that on the agenda. Well, not only did send me a letter, kind of like an initial letter on it. I had started on that a while back, and I talked with sustainability. I don't know if y'all saw your email. Stephanie couldn't make it tonight, but she did express interest in sustainability being a part of, creating a letter such as that and trying to get those, those retailers to try and change their tune. I think it really is feasible. Like Lowe's, I talked with their manager. I totally think that one is feasible. So I would really tell y'all, let's keep going with that if we can. I would love to be a part of that.
Well, why just Lowe's? I mean, why not?
Well, Lowe's is selling wisteria.
They're all selling bad stuff.
Well, that was the one that came to my mind when I first brought it up because I've seen it there and I talked with them. I mean, I'm sure there's other retailers that are doing it. I doubt Kofer's is doing it, but big box stores entirely likely. Like, oh, but it's variegated print. So it's special. But yeah, I think the CTC having some sort of a letter to send out would be great. I think it's an important thing, especially with the nuisance vegetation ordinance that just came through, or at least the changes to it. I think that would be a really good thing for us to get penciled out.
Would you target particular onerous species, or would you try to match it to like the invasives list that we have on hand? I mean, take Nandina, I mean, there's a whole hierarchy of things. Great leaf mahonia, a lot of those things are sale in commerce. I don't know about these particular stores.
Yeah.
Could focus on ones that kill trees.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be a good idea. It's kind of hard to say, like, long strangling death, or not necessarily strangling, but like extirpating native species like privet does. It isn't a violent killing, but it is a slow, yeah, like it's like more weight, that was a Crucible reference if anybody got it. But yeah, I think us going after very specific ones would be probably the best idea, or specifically if we see those species being, sold. So wisteria would be one of them. I'm pretty sure privet's one of them.
I feel like we'd have a very hard time getting people to stop selling it. But wisteria,
English ivy.
English.
Do they still sell those?
Oh, yeah.
South Carolina outlawed them.
Yeah, I could see maybe a few companies still selling them.
The thing about something like wisteria is there are alternatives that are even called wisteria. I mean, that are native to somewhere in the southeast, and that
That's a good point.
they're not nearly as aggressive, but they look like wisteria plumes do. So it would be easy to get. I mean, Lowe's in the past has sold wisteria rutescens, or whatever you call it, the native American wisteria.
Well, maybe I'm always running in the Lowe's to get plants. Maybe I can talk to the person who's in charge of ordering and just feel them out. And just see like what level will look like.
The ordering, I think, will be above the store. I think it'll be like a regional manager that's doing it.
But we could make it a win-win for them, like, they could advertise we're selling good plants.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I mean, there's a large push, for the natives and like having some sort of. Yeah.
Similar to the push for the pesticides, not using the pesticides that kill bees for the rest of the plant's life.
Yeah, that's a good angle.
So we'll see
Good angle.
what kind of fish to catch in that scenario. I mean, I would love to see a whole lot of plants I would love to never see them again. But
He has wanted to cut a couple of trees down in the parking lot, which I could approve.
Yeah.
And then when he cuts them down, I'll be like, I actually gotta replant.
Yeah.
government work.
Yeah.
Learning from the news.
Yeah. Make it, taking our cues from above.
About the
A
deal.
real quick question. This is probably not even remotely in our zone of interest, but I'm just curious. The president's house, so you know, the ones that's for sale. There's a lot of talk about different things that are gonna go into that space. Most of them are involving clearing the back behind the house. And it's got a lovely canopy, right, you know.
It's one of the oldest gardens in Athens.
Potential developers. of
Yeah,
the property.
what do you?
They're not, they wanna save like the big trees. I mean, there are a couple on the property that are hurting, like there's a pecan tree that's it's big, but it's not long for this world.
Yeah.
There's one, I think like star magnolia or something that is probably gonna have to go out. But for the most part, they're talking about a plan that would work around the big canopy trees. They're looking, I mean, this is really preliminary when I met with them, but they're looking at a boutique hotel that would include 2 or 3 or 4 small buildings behind. As you know, kind of fitting with the scale of the existing building.
That sounds
They're looking at doing it really sensitively so far, what I've been told. And they've been meeting with surrounding property owners.
Could be worse things to go in there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, anything that goes in there is gonna have to go through total public input through the planning commission and the mayor commission.
It isn't UGA anymore.
Yeah.
UGA can do what they want, but
Once they sell that property, it has to get rezoned, and so there's gonna be, and it's, I mean, I'm sure that not only will you get
Yeah, the edge,
concern from the nearby residents and people in Athens, but there are a whole bunch of alumni out there that are.
not only, it's outside of the CD zoning, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
So it would get, whatever it got zoned would have to require canopy.
Yeah.
And trees, I would have to imagine.
it has some beautiful.
it does have some
White oaks.
beautiful oaks, and
That's it.
they're talking about working around the oaks.
Yeah.
And then they did point, that, you know, I pointed out the pecan tree.
The what?
There's a pecan tree that further up on the property.
Is there any discussion about covenants being put on the house and property?
I don't know.
Is there any discussion about saving some of the design that Dean Owens at the Landscape Architecture School put in?
They're talking about conserving the house itself as much as possible.
More than the.
it's like one of the oldest gardens in Athens, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't say anything about doing anything, you know, the front gardens, they didn't talk about disturbing those at all. They're, you know, yeah.
Back.
I mean, there's more info that's gonna happen. It's just like all very- So,
It seems like it was a gift, the land. And that is public property. Like,
I mean, that's
It was like UGA property, right?
Jay's not.
well, it's a public
I wish.
university.
They get-
Like,
they-
I
they are
know there's
not-
like lawyers that know all about this sort of thing, but I was kind of like, isn't this our land?
But it's a.
It is our land. It is our-
They have rights and abilities beyond what local government
Yeah,
has.
yeah. They don't have to do TMPs for their properties.
Like UGA could go in there tomorrow and knock the whole place, flatten the whole place and build a dorm there if they want to. They really could. So it's probably better off in the hands of
Someone else.
private developer once
Royce the other day, he
They
seems like a
could
good
fancy
tree
hotel.
person.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
$5,000 a night for people to come stay in.
If I were president, you know, the rock and roll president, you just went downtown every night, he'd be popular.
Well, you just better not
Students.
mess with that ginkgo on the front. I spent a full day air spading that thing. And I'm gonna do it again.
Needs to be.
We do need to get some pruning done on it. There's some dead in it. But you'll notice, like, I air spaded for probably 6 hours, and the volcano mulching is still like way high up onto the root flare of the tree. So it's gonna take a few more years of me getting it out of there. So so we're getting close to time. It's 5:22. We got past events here as well. wisteria removal at Sandy Creek Park?
Yeah, we had a big, wonderful day. It was sponsored by the CTC. We had 2 members there. And we had,
Yeah, we had a,
oh, no, we did
I
3, yeah,
sent my husband.
Fired burger.
yeah. We had 14 people working hard at it. I haven't worked up the statistics yet, but it was gonna be similar to the last time when we did 40 trees at 18 minutes a tree or whatever
I
it
mean,
was.
14 people, that's good.
Yeah, yeah, and as we moved, I didn't realize how big the wisteria was, so we moved back toward the woods, some of the stuff was like major, big wisteria, and then when you move farther back, even there's a zone of, all dead trees where this wisteria has done
Really?
its work, it's just like a little sunny spot full of wisteria, but I think the park is just real tickled that we're doing it, since they don't have the
Yeah.
time, motivation to do it, so, they're looking forward to us doing it again at some point, so.
Very cool.
And I'll keep count of the trees that we have rescued. Have those statistics.
We should get some pictures of y'all working. Specifically, if you cut a vine, you can have like you as a reference. I'd love to get some photos that we could have.
And what would you do with?
I don't know. We gotta have some pictures in CTC though. You know, like when I do my final report, a lot of times if I'm sending it to like mayor and commission as to like what we did over the year, it would be nice to provide photos. Yeah. Yeah.
Someday social media will
Need a comment.
be back and we'll have pictures. Social media, maybe first people come out to stay with the CDC,
Yeah.
CTC.
But it's real satisfying to hear the tree. You can actually hear them sigh. When it comes off.
I believe that.
You guys have some crazy smelling salts there at these invasive removals projects, huh? You aren't breathing in the glyphosate, are you? Hearing them talk back to you. I thought only I talk to trees.
He did have a little glue around his lip.
I don't
Hi,
know.
Melissa, was you?
On my list and I forgot that.
Well, I think you should continue the agenda.
I was just curious about Helen's. If she got whatever we need.
It took me, it was a year, like I came and I got interviewed and I never heard anything from anyone, and then like a year later. Mateo, oh, was it my house maybe, looking at a.
Like maybe you'll be a part of the CTC one of these days. Yeah, so it's not you, Helen.
Like I said, it can historically take a while.
Yeah, I talked to Gene Spratlin a couple weeks ago, and it should be up on the next voting agenda. We're just waiting on it, so should be soon. Be soon, then you can vote. I guess one thing before people start packing up, I talked with Andrew Saunders about the Community Tree Council. He called me to discuss like the idea of us merging with other boards and commissions. I know we talked about it last meeting. Stacy with KACCB is very much against it. Most people are, and it sounds like Andrew does not want it to happen either. Just kind of the overlapping of the goals of those groups doesn't really, it isn't conducive. But what he is recommending that we take our numbers down from 14, 15 down to 12. That would bring our quorum number down, make it a little bit easier for us to have a full roster. And I believe once Helen is a member, we will be at 12. So we'll see if that is actually something that takes hold, but that's what Andrew is thinking.
Is that a bylaw thing?
It is a bylaw that we have like 14 or 15 people, I think it is. So I'm not sure what would happen if they would say like, hey, we all want to make this change, and then they would request us to change our bylaws. I don't know how that happens, how that works out, but that's at least the hints that I'm getting, the tea leaves that I'm reading as to what.
If you change bylaws, then I'm sure there's a procedure.
Yeah.
You're fired.
So
Yeah,
Julie's still on, right? Julie Duncan is still. She's had some health issues.
She stepped down.
Is she?
I didn't take her fully off the list. I took her off the email chains, just to give her time to not have to worry about it. But I figured if she does want to return, if she's feeling better, then I let that avenue stay open for her. I talked to her husband recently. I think she is doing better. She had a close call with getting sick at one point, but not.
I saw them both out Sunday at Arno. They were just looking good.
Good. I should reach out to her and tell her that she is more than welcome to come back. But I think I did not remove her from the roster. So, Green Life Awards were good. Good times, great oldies. Drinks were had, smiles made, friendships solidified.
Yeah, I have one question about the way they always decorate with invasive species. It's a really pretty cherry. I mean, so there was some wisteria, I think.
Yeah,
and
Chinaberry.
The Chinaberry looked great,
Yeah.
but there was no explanation of their invasiveness. It was just out there for people to wonder about.
As if we were
Yeah.
proud of.
Yes.
I think anyone that sees those is gonna, if they know they're invasives, then they're gonna know what's up. Otherwise, they're gonna be like, oh, pretty flowers.
I did ask about that one time. And Stacy, I think, said that it was to bring awareness and that they were removing it and they had actually removed it, locally and wanted to bring awareness to it. And that's why they were decorating.
But there was nothing said or.
If there's no signs, then how are people gonna know?
Yeah.
They shouldn't grow it.
Ask about it, I guess. I don't know.
My thought on it is that, like I'm a longtime forager. And we always talk about the honorable harvest. So, you never take the first of something that you see, you never take the last of something that you see, and you never take more than 50%.
Unless it's invasive.
Exactly. So when you're talking about invasive things, the honorable harvest is that you take all of it, as much of it as that you possibly can.
Next time we should decorate with the whole Chinaberry tree.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, so like
But really, I'm sure a lot of people there you don't hardly ever see Chinaberry flowers that are way up there, but
yeah.
should put a little sign. Bad flower. Bad flower.
If you see these, pick these, all of them. Every one of them.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't want to, damage any healthy plants, so they decorate with
No.
ones that don't mind being destroyed.
And the vast majority of those invasives were brought in specifically by Malthus Ward for the first botanical gardens, like wisteria, what were the other ones that he did? Chinaberry, he brought in, Tree of Heaven.
Sure. Wait, who is this guy?
Malthus Ward, he was the first professor of natural history at UGA.
Oh.
He was the one that lived across the street from the tree that owns itself.
Oh.
So that's why the wisteria is there at the tree that owns itself, is because of old Malthus. But which I'm going to be fighting very soon, not Malthus, but wisteria.
But next year we'll put some signs on it.
Put the sign.
We should.
We decorate with invasives to get it off the plate.
We should. Or what we should do is when the CTC comes up, we can say, here we're the CTC. And by the way, all of these flowers here, see them. Cut it out.
I wish Stacy was here because she would be able to input more about that.
Yeah.
Other Stacy was the one that said.
There were some interesting awards. One of the awards given was a handcrafted walking stick from North Carolina.
Yeah.
Third generation.
There's some
walking
fancy
stick maker or
ones.
something. We could make walking sticks out of wisteria.
Yeah.
Aaron Morris is making baskets out of kudzu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
Mateo his wife wraps his granola bar in kudzu leaves.
I do.
I've seen it.
Yeah, when I go on trail runs, I'll take either like kudzu or mulberry leaves to wrap my
It looks very
snacks. It does, yeah. It's like it's lemon bread in there. Actually, it really is. Well, I think it is 5:32. I think we have
I motion to adjourn.
Oh, yes. So Jesse motions. Any nays? No nays. Motion passes.
I never heard of it.
I don't think we ever had that name. I thought about name just to do it. Yeah.
I've had my motions in my head.
I am so glad that there's some awareness around this. This happened to my neighbor.
Did it?
Yes, she said that her insurance company said that they used a drone.
She said.
Yeah.
Told her she had to remove limbs that were overhanging her house, or she'd be dropped. And she went and got a different insurance provider.
Like, okay, drop me.
Information. I'll write.
How are you doing?
Because we're trying to find people to talk to that this has actually happened to, and that is a really great.
It was scary. I had no idea this was going on, and she mentioned it to me, and I was like, wow.
I was in Birmingham recently and they are doing the street trees and the neighbors, that are in historic neighborhoods that are having these trees just horribly pruned.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Oh, it was just really sad.
Aw.
So I heard about it, but that's the only time before this.
Yeah, it's getting more and more common for companies to be doing it. It's really common nowadays. I've run into it a couple times.